I found out my childhood best friend slept with my fiancé, then lied to my face, while she kept calling me to stay friends. Now she wants to talk like nothing happened, but I've set my boundaries, and now I will give them. I dated Samantha for 8 years. We were engaged for 2 of them. To be completely honest, it wasn't the healthiest relationship. It was rocky, constantly. There were good times, sure, but they were scattered and buried under a lot of emotional strain. We struggled with communication, boundaries, expectations, basically everything. Still, we tried to make it work, because that's what you do when you've put years into something. You try. You keep trying, even when it's already falling apart. She lived with me and my family for most of that time. It was serious. She became a part of my daily life, my home, my family's routines. So when it ended in the summer of 2022, it wasn't just the end of a relationship, it was a total life reset. I had to recalibrate everything, emotionally and practically. But the breakup itself wasn't even the hardest part. What came after hurt worse. During our relationship, we were always with this friend group, Alan and Willow. I've known Alan since we were little kids, like 5 or 6 years old. We grew up on the same block, went to school together, played the same sports, stayed close through our teen years and into adulthood. He was more than a best friend, he was a constant. Willow came into the picture later when they started dating, and then it was the 4 of us, me, Samantha, Alan, and Willow, weekend after weekend. Year after year. No exaggeration, we hung out at least 40 weekends a year every year for the full 8 years Samantha and I were together. We celebrated birthdays, holidays, went on trips, spent lazy weekends just playing games and talking. We were at their wedding. I helped Alan and Willow set up their venue, helped them clean up after. When their families planned international trips, I was always invited. We were chosen family. That's what it felt like. Then, in early 2024, I got confirmation that Samantha and Alan had slept together. I'd suspected it before, after Willow caught them in February 2023. She told me something was off. I confronted both of them. They denied it, gave me some excuse about Alan being at Samantha's place for advice, nothing more. And I gave them the benefit of the doubt. I believed them. Maybe because I wanted to. Maybe because I was still hoping the people closest to me wouldn't betray me like that. Turns out they had been sleeping together since about 6 months after Samantha and I broke up. At the very least. But if I'm being totally honest, I wouldn't be surprised if it started even earlier, while we were still together. But I don't have the energy to confirm it anymore. I've made peace with not knowing every detail because the damage is done. The timeline doesn't change the betrayal. So, I cut Alan out of my life. Completely. No goodbye, no conversation. Just done. There are betrayals you recover from, and then there are the ones that permanently redraw the lines around your life. This was the latter. I would have done the same with Samantha, but there's one issue, I can't. Not fully. We're both part of this organization I've been a member of since I was 10 years old. It's something that's more than a hobby or a side activity. It's a huge part of my identity, my life. It's a community of about 20 to 30 people we meet with every month to plan for a major event that happens in the summer. That summer event brings together over 500 people, and I've grown up with it. I've gone from the kid watching to the guy helping others lead. This community means the world to me. Samantha only started coming to this organization a couple of years into our relationship, so she's been involved for maybe 5 or 6 years now. But even with less time, she's become a part of it too. And because of that, our paths still cross. When we broke up, I hoped she'd step away from the organization out of respect, but she didn't. And I'm not leaving either. That space is mine too. I've poured years into it, and it's one of the few places where I still feel grounded, especially after everything. So, we set boundaries. In the summer of 2024, we both made it clear that whatever personal history we had stays outside the doors of that organization. When we're in that room, we're professionals. We're adults. And while it's not easy seeing her and pretending like 8 years of my life didn't unravel because of her and my best friend, it's something I've trained myself to handle. I've learned to compartmentalize. I don't speak to her unless it's necessary. I don't look her way unless I have to. I don't let her presence change the way I engage with the people I care about. She doesn't get to own that space. She doesn't get to taint what that organization means to me. Sometimes I still feel the sting. It creeps in quietly, when I hear her voice, or when someone brings up Alan casually not knowing what happened. but I stay composed. That part of my life is over. The part where she had that power, where he had that access, they're gone. It's not about holding a grudge. It's about protecting my peace. It's about drawing lines, finally, where I should have drawn them years ago. It's about knowing who deserves to be in my life, and who lost that right by their own choices. I've moved on from them, but I haven't moved on from who I am. And I won't abandon the places or the people that have made me who I am just because someone else couldn't respect what we had. That's the balance I've learned to live with: grief, boundaries, and growth. Not all at once, but side by side. When I found out what had happened between Samantha and Alan, I didn't lose it. I didn't scream or throw accusations. I was direct, probably more direct than I've ever been with anyone in my life. I told Samantha point blank, there's no catching up to be had between us, no casual conversation, no pleasantries to exchange. I don't need to know how she's doing, and she doesn't need to know how I'm doing. That part of our lives, whatever connection we had, is over. The only communication we'll have now will be about the organization we're both involved in. That's it. That's the line. I wasn't rude about it. I told her clearly that I wasn't angry anymore, and I didn't hate her. I just didn't see the point in pretending that things between us could ever be what they once were. Our dynamic from here on out would be professional, strictly business. Then this past week, she called me. She wanted to ask whether I'd be okay with her potentially being on a newly forming committee, something related to our shared organization. My answer was simple. Why wouldn't I be? If she needs to be in the committee, she should be in it. I'll handle my side of things however I need to. I meant it. I've had to adapt before, and I'll do it again. This space isn't about either of us personally. It's about the work we do and the community we serve. That's always been the priority for me. She then asked me to bring something up in the next meeting on her behalf. Again, I shut that down, not to be difficult, but because it made no sense. I told her flatly, you have the information. You got it firsthand. Why would I be the one to bring it up based on what you're telling me? If it matters, you bring it up, and then everyone can weigh in like we always do. Simple. That's how it works. That's how it should work. Then she asked me how I was doing. And here's where I might have come off as cold, but I meant what I said. Nope. We're not doing pleasantries. I already told you, business only. No need for personal talk. There was a pause. A beat of silence. Then she said, based on our last conversation, I thought we were good. And I told her again, just as I had in 2024. We are good. I don't hate you. I don't think you're a bad person. But there's no need for pleasantries. There's no friendship here anymore, no connection outside of the responsibilities we share in this organization. That's the boundary. It's clear. It's mine. And I'm going to enforce it. She said, okay, sorry for asking. And we ended the call. But then she called back about an hour later. This time, to apologize for asking again. I told her calmly that she didn't need to apologize. I've set my boundary, and I'll be the one to enforce it. I'm not angry. I'm not holding a grudge. But I'm not going to bend just because she wants to pretend things aren't what they are. Then she said something that stuck with me. She thought we could at least be friendly. So I asked her, why? She said it was hard to pretend we never happened. That we were together for nearly 10 years, and she couldn't act like I didn't exist. I get that. I really do. But acknowledging our shared history doesn't mean I owe her warmth. It doesn't mean I have to make room for her emotionally just because we had a long past. Then she shifted the tone and said she knew I had my thoughts on the situation with Alan, and that it wasn't fair. That I didn't get her whole truth. She started to explain, hesitated, and then asked if we could talk more around 4:30 after work. I said sure. But I made something very clear first. Look, I told her, you have your side of the truth. Alan has his side. You both told me pieces of it. I listened. I connected the dots. But at the end of the day, I don't care about anyone's truth anymore. I care about the facts. And the facts are, she was with me for nearly a decade. She and Alan, someone I've known since I was 5 years old, decided to cross a line. Whether it was 6 months after we broke up or 6 months before, I don't need to know. Because what matters is that they crossed it. They betrayed my trust. And now, the only thing left between us is the structure of our shared commitment to an organization that means more to me than either of them ever did. This isn't bitterness. This is survival. This is peace. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not chasing closure. I'm not interested in rewriting history to soften the pain. I've accepted what happened. I've adjusted. And now, I'm protecting what's mine. My time, my energy, my peace. So no, there's no room for pleasantries. There's no reason for friendly. There's just me, my boundary, and the life I'm building beyond the wreckage. After everything that happened with Samantha and Alan, I knew I had to draw a hard line. Not just for my own peace of mind, but for the sake of continuing to function in the spaces we still shared, specifically the organization we're both part of. So, when I told her there would be no catching up, no pleasantries, no small talk, I meant it. I made that clear from the start. But recently, she called me again. This time to ask about being placed on a new committee. I told her flatly, why wouldn't I be okay with that? If she needs to be there, she should be there. I'll handle it. I've worked hard to separate emotion from duty in this space, and I meant what I said. Then she asked me to bring something up on her behalf at the next meeting. I shut that down. You have the information. You heard it directly. Why would I speak for you? You bring it up yourself. And again, clear boundary. Not rude. Just direct. Then she broke the boundary. Asked me how I was doing. I said, nope. We're not doing pleasantries. We've already talked about this. This is business only. There was silence for a moment. Then she said, based on our last conversation, I thought we were good. And I told her, we are good. I don't hate you. I don't think you're a bad person. But there's no need for personal talk. None. She apologized and we hung up. But that wasn't the end of it. She called again an hour later, apologizing for asking how I was doing. I told her she didn't have to apologize. I'm not angry. I've drawn a boundary, and I'm the one enforcing it. Simple. That's when she started getting emotional. Said she thought maybe we could at least be friendly. That we had almost 10 years together, and she couldn't pretend it never happened. That she couldn't pretend I didn't exist. I get it. But I also don't owe her a friendship just because we had a long history. Then she pivoted, said she knew I had my thoughts about what happened between her and Alan, and that it wasn't fair because I hadn't heard her truth. She started to explain, then said, it's hard for me to talk about, can we talk at 4:30 after work? I said sure. But before we got off the phone, I told her this. Look, you have your side. Alan has his. You both told me different things, and I had to connect the dots. But the truth is, I don't care about anyone's truth anymore. I care about the facts. And the facts are, you both slept together. Then you both lied to me about it. Then you both did everything you could to keep it from me. And she had the audacity to say, I honestly thought you knew. He told me you were encouraging it. I just stared at the wall for a second when she said that. Because, let's be clear, during the time they were sleeping together, she was still calling me. Still asking me to be friends. Never once asked if I was encouraging anything. Not once. And yet she's sitting here trying to paint that narrative. So I laid it out for her. Here's why I don't believe you. In 2023, Willow told me what she'd seen. I went to both of you separately. You both denied it. And not just denied it, you gave me the exact same story, like it had been rehearsed. Then, weeks later, I saw you in passing and made a half joke about it, about you two sleeping together. Your reaction? You made it sound like it was the most absurd thing you'd ever heard. Outlandish. Like I was crazy for even suggesting it. So don't sit here and tell me you thought I knew. You made every effort to make sure I never found out. The only reason I ever learned the truth is because I played her. I made her think I already knew, and she panicked. That's when the confirmation came out. Not because she was honest. Not because she respected me enough to tell me. But because I tricked her into thinking the truth was already out. It was calculated. It was controlled. They manipulated every situation to make sure I remained in the dark. Willow and I have talked since then. When I found out for real, she was surprised. I think she genuinely believed I already knew. Alan had told her. He came clean to me. He never did. When I reminded her that she was the one who told me about finding him at Samantha's place at 2 a.m., she said, yeah, but I told you. And I said, yes, but they both denied it. And back then, I didn't think either of them would lie to me like that. Turns out I was wrong. So then Samantha asked me if attending the week-long summer event with the organization felt awkward for me. I told her, no, because it doesn't. I've compartmentalized it. This is a space I've been in since I was 10. I'm not going to let her take that away from me. But she said, well, it feels awkward for me. I answered, well, I can't help you make your feelings less awkward. Then she hit me with this. I feel like you avoid me, that you don't want to work or talk with me, that you force yourself to when you have to. I didn't sugarcoat my response. I said, well, don't feel like that. That's a fact. I don't go out of my way to avoid you, no. I'm not going to turn around in the hallway if I see you. But do I want to talk to you? No. Do I want to work with you? No. And yes, every single time I do, I force myself to, because the organization needs me to. If it weren't for this organization, I'd never speak to you again. So don't get it twisted. It's not a feeling. It's a fact. And here's the real truth. I'm not bitter. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not trying to punish her. But I have a right to my boundary. I have a right to protect my peace. And that means no personal conversation. No small talk. No questions about family. No how are yous. Just hello, maybe goodbye, and conversation about the task at hand. That's all I owe her. That's all I have to give. So, if you're asking whether I'm the asshole for enforcing that boundary, no, I'm not. I'm the guy who got lied to, who got betrayed, who got manipulated. And instead of burning it all down, I chose a quieter kind of closure, distance, professionalism, boundaries. She doesn't get access to my peace anymore. Just the part of me that gets the job done. And that's all she's ever going to get.